We had blood starts to stick to places where mycotoxins have latched to, and that latches there, and then it sort of crystallizes the tissue more, and things get stuck and loses its beautiful surface area, like it should have a great beautiful surface area. So it less it keeps the surface area, blood sort of as an organ sort of senses all of this, and whenever the colloidal integrity of the blood was other than kept, as it's not sort of in digestive disturbance, blood corpuscles and blood platelets stick to mycotoxic acid injury that can have occurred to endothelial cells, cells that line our passageways of the lymphatic system, and connective tissue and things like that. Blood platelet also, like the red blood platelet, pool and stagnant and become a menorah. And this menorah, cells can arise from this, immune cells can arise out of that menorah. Just like an egg could be fertilizable by an electric current, a red blood cell can easily be fertilized by an electrical current change, which it is, and it can morph itself into an immune cell or a mast cell or whatever's necessary in the area, which it does do this. Most people have never really seen that much because they've never seen this under a microscope as I have and other researchers, which it will be shown to be so, in fact, as others start to see this as well. But anyway, at the wound healing, there's clotting factor element that's immediately needed for the body assistance, you know, and mycotoxin excreted by digestive disorder acidifies the endothelial cells, and non-life food consumption can have really been relentless, and it's just really like a body ailment that can have been newly brought in relentlessly, basically. But nitrates that's from those deli slices, and nitrates from the fertilizers, and nitrates you know, from the flesh itself and things, all combine with amines in the stomach, in intestinal flora, and nitrosamines are very, very cancer-causing compounds and things, and disease-causing compounds. But anyway, when we have a lot of microbes and things and ferment in our stomach, we have low-density lipoproteins, which are these little units which transport all of this stuff away from the liver to help keep the liver clean. But it transports mycotoxic compound, and it transports to the very periphery of ourself, where it can have, you know, caused blood flow to the periphery of ourself less than to be present like it should. Ferments, of course, produce ergotamine is one of the funguses. Ergotamine produces lysergic acid 25, which that's LSD, and it has a lot of other substances in it also, which tiny little bits of microdots of that can really affect brain function and cause lots of sort of schizophrenia, because it's biogenic sort of compounds in excess in the gut of such a person, and at the end of the day all of that gas has risen and has affected their brain so unbelievably that it disturbs their brain, so they can have hallucinations and all sorts of things, and most people end up with Alzheimer's and conditions like that, and it's sort of pretty much sort of like that. But biofilm is like a material film which sort of gets in between all of the cells and everything, and that's the condominium of mold, fungus and yeast that can hide out in the body, basically, which has to be scrubbed and cleared away. Might be not easy for someone to consider how it could be that someone could consume something, but could you imagine this like a tattoo, really? Though the body could come and go, the tattoo remains. Like, wow, that's amazing. what was healthy was able to be cleared away, but what wasn't was sort of really trapped there in the web, just like a tattoo. And though the cells could have come and gone relentlessly many times over, the substrate material that became trapped in the web there became stuck there where it was put. And unless you have means, non-surgical, non-druggist means to clear away the debris, even if you did eat live food, it wouldn't really heal you up, because you've got to actually dislodge debris typically. You know, you've got to dislodge debris from the body for things to work better. Because you could have a good fuel and everybody could be going around trying to get the best fuel, but if your catalytic converter is not working on your car, it's like, well, so what? I mean, you've got to get that fixed, you know?
Yeah.
You know. And the body's a lot like this. We could be wondering about what better fuel to use, but if the the pipes are clogged and things are not going to get digested, it's like, well, you've got to get that fixed. And that often requires more of a non-surgical, non-druggist approach to assisting. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yes.
And you've got to start more upstream to start to clear things away. But fermentation robs tryptophan and phenylalanine from the body so that you have no substance to make noradrenaline and norepinephrine and things, which that causes you to make you feel good and have an overall feeling of well-being. Pantothenic acid is not produced in the intestinal tract, and so dopamine, which causes you to feel motivated, get things done, can't really be produced properly. We have biogenic sort of compounds which interfere and get stuck in receptor sites and things. That's produced by microbes and the toxins that they excrete, which are very potent sort of nerve toxins and things. Magnesium is robbed from the body, and that enables you to be able to quiet and be relaxed. Taurine can't really be produced as an amino acid, so there's nothing to quieten the brain. The brain could be racing and have racy sort of thoughts and things, not be able to turn thinking off. Because of all of the conditions of essential fatty acid deficiency and fat metabolism disturbance because of bile occlusion, the brain, which is very fat sensitive, really does affect memory and ability to be able to recall information and cognitive processing, ability to be able to add things up and be able to maintain 5 or 6 or 7 things that you have to keep track of. You know, it's sort of more as multiple processing, where some of us can only do serial processing. We can do one thing at a time, but multiple processing really does require a more whole brain pattern. Empathic processing involves really a high degree of excellence, because you've really got to have good brain function, but you might not, but still to have good empathy generally you've got to have fairly good brain function, you know. And empathicness and having compassion does show where people have good nutrition, they have iron and they have manganese, they're able to love and they can feel a sense of love. And when people other than have proper levels of iron, they don't really love. When people don't have any manganese, they can't really love. There's no real love, you see. And so on a physical plane you have this, and then of course somebody could be dying and they could still be showing love, and they might not have iron, they could still be showing love because they've transcended things to some degree. But most people might not have any idea, and we all should be doing what we can to youth ourselves anyway. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about brain function and food. This is Dr. David Jubb. This is the universe inside our mind. Stay tuned for some more exciting information coming up.